Welcome to Absolute Counter, episode 16.
Gaming's biggest oopsies of 2019.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Absolute Counter. This is Darkscream.
And this is Magus. What's new, dude?
Not a whole lot, but let's move on to the questions. We only have like 2 questions for this episode, so we should get them done quick. But Phoenix asked, what would you guys consider the dark ages for the video game scene in terms of quality?
Oh, I can easily answer that for me. 7th gen.
7th gen. Yeah, I figured you were going to answer that. I don't know if I have gaming as a whole in terms of quality, but I like to say the generation before that, the 6th gen. Okay. To me, that was when fighting games were just basically kind of just fading into niche obscurity, and the most popular games at the time were basically Tekken and Soul Calibur, so Bandai almost basically had a monopoly on it. But that was basically, I say basically a lot. That was when we didn't have a Street Fighter game, so
yeah,
a new Street Fighter. So, and when Street Fighter 4 came out, then the rise of 2D games come out. Guilty Gear got a little more recognition. We were seeing certain revivals, and there was a big tourney scene that just came in. So
yeah. Well, that's true for fighting games. I think the 7th gen for me was just the big circle jerk of American gaming that happened.
Yeah. As well as Japanese developers trying to get on that Western gaming and ruin their own franchises because of it. Yakuza Dead Souls.
Yep, that and I don't know. It was just a shitty gen.
I understand that answer. I knew you were going to answer that too. Nothing but bro shooters. You still like the Halo franchise?
Somewhat.
I'm thinking about picking up the Master Chief Collection on Steam.
Oh, that's right. That's on Steam now, I heard.
Yeah, Halo Reach is on there. I've heard mostly good things about it. Okay, next question from Death by Yeti. It's a pretty good one. There's plenty of blunders that happen through the year, but was there anything in gaming that was an improvement, a positive, or a non-blunder of 2019 that you would consider? Now, we've been mostly positive when it comes to gaming on this channel, especially this year. So I'm thinking on improvements of 2019.
Well, I can tell you how some of the DLC Nintendo has handled really well.
Yeah.
Particularly Smash Brothers and even Mario Maker 2 and things like that.
That is a pretty good. That is pretty good. But those are games that were already good to begin. I was actually thinking, okay, let's start off rocky, but got a redemption arc. But that was a solid answer. For me,
not Anthem.
Yeah, for me, I'm just gonna say, as much as I hate to admit it, and I still regret buying it for full price. Well, more than full price on launch. But Street Fighter V has been showing some gradual improvement. With its content, finally adding arcade mode, bringing in some characters that I haven't seen in a while, like Gil, and Sakura and Karen. There is still something about that game that just doesn't, that I just can't get into the way I can get into Third Strike or even Street Fighter 4 for that matter, but I have to keep playing the game. It's still installed on my PlayStation, and I actually just did an arcade run session on that game before recording this episode.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like it. I'm trying to give it my best, but damn, there's just something about that game that's just pushing me away. It just has that stink to it. And I can't find the source's stink so I can apply air freshener.
Well, you know what? It's not necessarily a stink to it. It's just sometimes you just can't connect with it. And it happens.
True, but usually I like to know why sometimes. Like, I always like to know how and why, even when it's something that's bad. For example, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to save that for a vlog of mine.
Okay.
It's something Gundam related, but there are trash fires that I'm usually fascinated on why they're trash fires. Like,
right.
Yeah, like Master of Martial Arts. Like, wow, how did that become what it was? Especially the final episode.
What?
It's a shitty anime that has a superly shitty ending. I reviewed it a couple years ago on my channel. You guys can find it there.
Okay. Oh, I got you. Okay.
But yeah, and when it comes to me, like with differing of opinions and stuff, I like okay, I probably still understand why somebody might like this, but personally, it's not me. But I'm trying to figure out why can't I get into Street Fighter? And maybe the game is too offense focused because people say Third Strike is still a technically deeper game, but I still love to play that more.
Right.
All right, well, I'll have to go on that journey on my own. But anyways,
Okay. All I wanted to say was sometimes you can't figure it out. I've been in that case. That's all I have to say on that.
well, me, I always like to look for the answer.
Yeah.
Except for certain franchises like Danganronpa. I like to keep those obscure.
Okay.
Yeah. Can't say much because I'll be spoiling one of their games, but so in the past couple of weeks, I picked up and played Cadence of Hyrule for the Switch because
And how is it?
it was on sale because of the Game Awards show, which I don't want to talk about because really I don't care that much, and there weren't that any. Well, No More Heroes 3, but other than that, there weren't that many spectacular announcements. By the way, Sekiro won Game of the Year. It wasn't Death Stranding.
Cool, cool.
Yeah,
Oh, Sekiro did. Wow. Actually, it wow.
I know. I was blown away by that too. But props to the creator of those Souls franchises. He's finally got a trophy under his belt. But Kane's a Hyrule. I think you might actually like this game more than Crypta and Necrodancer.
I'll have to give it a go.
Because it plays equally as both a Necrodancer and a Zelda game. It actually feels like elements of both Link to the Past and the original NES Zelda game.
Hey, that's not a bad thing, man.
Like the way the levels are structured out. Okay, you have the big map of Hyrule, but it's broken off into different squared sections, much like the NES game. And it's typical. You move to the beat, you attack to the beat, and if you defeat enemies, the beat disappears and you can freely explore the place and then move on to the next section and then collect items, collect dungeons, and the game gets easier when you progress through the game, and there's no linearity to it like some of the later Zelda games. It feels a little more open world. I mean, the story is some d-bag named Octavio has the golden loot, put Hyrule's warriors and stuff to sleep, and you have to defeat his 4 generals and get to him. So, and you can basically just explore wherever you have to go and then go through dungeons, fight the bosses, blah blah blah. And I just heard they added a free DLC update focusing on that villain. I don't know, I haven't gotten that far yet, but good for Nintendo, Spike Chunsoft, and the developers of those games. I've been yeah, like I said, I give it a recommendation as both a Zelda and a Necrodancer fan.
Nice, nice. That. Hey, I'll give it a go. I'll look into it.
Yeah, I think you'll love it. I think you'll love it more than Necrodancer.
Real quick, there was one announcement at the Game Awards. Real quick, I want to backtrack to that I was excited for, and that's Bravely Second, Bravely Default 2.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's going to be confusing for some people because the
Yeah,
previous game was called Bravely Second.
and it's a direct sequel.
Okay.
So, but I'm still looking forward to it. So there you go.
Yeah. And the other game I played, which should be of no surprise, I have played and completed The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Ooh,
Now, in our last episode, I slapped that as my #1 game of the year. After playing it in its entirety, experiencing the whole story, and doing most of the extra content, I gotta say, now it still is my game of the year, man. Psych.
okay. I was gonna say what the fuck.
It was fantastic. I want to see the 4th game come out. By the way, in terms of gaming news, Nightman just shared in our Discord chat that the newest, oh jeez, I gotta mute that. The newest Trails game got announced, and they even announced like ports of the Crossbell Art games. So there is a slither of hope that those games will be localized.
Okay, hold on. The Crossbell Art Games ports for what console? Steam? What?
Oh shit, I didn't look that up. Let's just say. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna look that up right now, but I want to say maybe it's for Steam. Maybe. Crossbill Arc ports. Let's see if they got news. Um, do. Okay. All I know is that Nightman dropped that news. I don't know what platforms it's gonna be. It could be everywhere. It could be one place. But either way, man, I have a PC. I can play those games on Steam. That seems to be the worst case scenario. But it could also make it to the Switch.
Okay.
All right. Shit.
So that's what you've been playing.
Yes. And I got something to say.
Oh shit.
You gotta finish this game, dude. I'm telling you. You gotta play and finish it. And we have to discuss it.
Okay, I will, but right now I really owe myself to Witcher 3. And my game playing has been not as much. For those that don't know, I'm now have a girlfriend, so that kind of that does take up some of my time, which you understand, right, Darkscream?
I do, but I have a proposition for you.
Oh, what's the proposition?
You play and you get as much time as Cold Steel 3 as early as you can, but as early as you can. And in return, I play Xenogears. I continue playing that game as early as possible. I play Xenogears. I mean, you say yes, I'll probably play the game tonight. The latest I'll play is probably tomorrow night.
I'm thinking I won't be able to play till tomorrow, but yeah, I'm thinking I'll take you up on it.
Yeah, we got a deal. Wow, okay, now
Yeah.
I need to mute myself there.
And one other thing. We got to do a show on both games.
I knew you were going to talk about that, and I was thinking, yeah, I agree, we should do that.
Because Xander is talking about playing through the game himself. So I may be doing 2 Xenogears show, but there's so much to say about that fucking game, as there is about the Trails games. So, what can you do, right?
Right. And I do have a way to play it. I have it on my Vita, which is kind of functionally kind of rickety right now. It's got some. God, I wish the Vita just used micro SDs. But I'm just gonna keep it at that. Maybe if we do an episode on the Vita, we can talk about the cons and the pros, because I did love the shit out of that handheld. You know, early in the decade. It might actually be something we could talk about in the next episode.
Let's just talk about it next episode.
Yeah,
because it's part of this decade. Real quick, what I've been playing, I want to say something. You'll be happy. My girlfriend has sometimes been a Street Fighter widow, which means I've been playing Street Fighter 3 Third Strike a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good game. It
I
really
know.
is. You know what's funny is I played the collection, and you know I played Street Fighter 3 the other day in its entirety. The original.
Oh, New Generation? Okay.
Yeah, New Generation. Yeah, the original. And it's a pretty solid game, but you could tell the tweaks to Third Strike really improved that system. Like, for example, like grabbing was the whole old school, you know, if you hit forward and you get lucky by hitting medium or high punch, you know, that old throwing system that was always weird. But by the time you get to Third Strike, I mean, the whole system was practically perfect.
Yeah, they did. They decided to do like a 2 lights for a throw, and then they added EX attacks by the time they got into Second Impact. Yeah, the system really did get deep. But that being said, I occasionally go back to arcades of New Generation and Second Impact, because I still love the presentation and soundtrack of those games. I love the versus screen on New Generation with like the thunderstorm whenever you see the 2 opponents on the versus splash.
Yeah.
I love the victory screen in both those games where like the victor actually looks down on the beaten opponent. I thought that was pretty cool. I love the music for Ibuki's stage, Elena's stage. A lot of people like Gil's second theme song way more out of all of them, which is why they were ecstatic to hear a remix of that for Street Fighter V.
And the endings in both, I know they're the same in New Generation and Second Impact, but they're different in
Yeah.
Third Strike.
Yeah, because
So
Third
that's
Strike is, in a way, it's part two of the Street Fighter 3 story.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And also, if you want to go further, it's kind of like what they did with what was it?
Alpha.
Street, not Alpha necessarily. Alpha, they all have different endings. I was thinking Turbo, the final version of Street Fighter 2.
Ah.
Not the final, but Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, where those endings were different from the endings that were in World Warrior up to New Challengers.
Omega Street Fighter 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they made an Ultra Street Fighter 2. Goddamn.
I own that too, and it's pretty solid. I like it. So
I haven't gotten it yet, but the fact that they made one like this is like, oh, just let it stop. Make it stop.
hey, it got Evil Ryu. I had to get it, bud.
Man, I don't like Evil Ryu.
I like Evil Ryu.
Not a fan of Evil Ryu.
What about Violent Ken?
It's cool that he's actually in a good Street Fighter game for once, because he was in SVC Chaos, and that game was a turd.
Oh, okay.
And he is inspired by Brainwash Ken from Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Evil Ryu and Violent Ken, and there you go.
All right. Well, we got about 5 minutes of free time. You got anything else?
Like,
how's your progress on The Witcher? How's your fucking Geralt adventure?
It's going well. I'm still taking my slow ass time. I've been doing just a hell of side quests. Speaking of The Witcher, real quick, have you watched the TV series?
Not yet.
I watched the first episode, and it's pretty fucking good.
I might give it a watch, because I have some respect for Henry Cavill.
Oh, I love Henry Cavill for obvious reasons.
Yeah, he did an interview basically defending some of the passionate fans once. And he also did an interview talking about Geralt. And he even said at one point that he doesn't even like to go out on his free time. He just likes to stay inside and play some video games. So he's one of us.
Yeah, and he nailed that character.
He looks like he could.
Well, even down to the speech. It's got that speech. Now, of course, it's one of those cases where the live action is as equal as the voice acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like the voice actor, I don't know who he is, but that guy nailed Geralt too.
I agree, man. I'm so glad that he's getting work in not just Witcher games, but like in other video games now. Now that Geralt's been hopping into portals of other video games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Soul Calibur, the Monster Hunter.
Daemon Ex Machina.
Well, I don't think there's a Witcher campaign in that one. I think it's just DLC skins. But if there was, I would not be surprised. I would be laughing my ass off at this point.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess we can move on to our wonderful topic. We've been mostly positive on this channel. Now let's move on to the negatives. 2019 was a pretty good year for gaming. But it wasn't a perfect year for gaming. It had some shit stains that I've been purposely ignoring because, honestly, I just don't feel like talking about it up until this point. And we could do a top 5 worst video games of 2019, but I'm going to be honest, man. I haven't played a whole lot of video games I considered to be abysmally bad that's on my list. In fact, every game I played was either pretty good to freaking excellent. But right. So for this episode, I was like, okay, but I do want to take a shit. I do want to take a big shit. But what am I going to take a shit on? Oh, there was still some stupid stuff that happened in gaming, which is both awesome and terrible. It's terrible that the big AAA games are not doing as well this year, but it's great for small up-and-coming games rising up. The indies, the obscure weeb Japanese games. So 2019 for me has been a pretty damn solid year. But that being said, we got to talk about some dumb things. Now, there are going to be certain video games on this list. Okay. And I will explain why. For some video games, you don't have to play them, but you have to be so bad you are getting what I like to call Colonial Marines publicity.
Okay.
If you remember the controversy behind that game.
I bought that game. I bought it and I regret it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the game. The game was just so bad. It basically had developers and publishers trying to attack and shoot mortars at each other, and it has to have that level of publicity. So, if you have some personal, if you had some personal blunders, you feel free to interject and put some in. I've managed to make a small list, but I think it'll be enough to cover at least the minimum time for this episode.
I've got one, and it doesn't matter any year this happens. It's a shit stain. The
All
Bubsy
right.
game came out this year.
Huh, I thought it came out last year.
No, there's a Bubsy game that came out this year.
When will it end? No! Stop it!
Here's the problem with Bubsy that I never understood when they revived it. I know everyone looks at Bubsy 3D, right? As a shit stain. But the first couple games were not that good anyway. Bubsy sucked.
Bubsy sucks.
It's a fact. I'm sorry, but Bubsy is a shit stain.
Even if you try to release the game ironically, I'm not going to fork over that much money to support it. I mean, if the game was actually legit good, but from the best positive reception I heard that it's basically 3 stars, but still pretty bland. No, man.
Yeah, so that's always a shit stain.
That gets a revival, but Darkstalkers doesn't.
Which
just
is
want you to think
game.
about it. Yeah.
What is I don't understand why people. I don't. It's like, let's bring back Arrow the Acrobat. Who wants to do that?
Or Shaq Fu, which is what they fucking did.
Bring back fucking. You know what? I know what people are going to say. Well, the Darkstalkers HD didn't sell well. Bullshit. There's still a market for it. I mean, not very many people. It's probably the same market that would buy Samurai Showdown, the same niche.
Yeah, I know, but Capcom probably wants to turn into a tourney game, and I'm kind of scared for that because they're going to make Felicia wear pants, if that's the case. Yeah. I'd rather it get the Samurai Showdown niche publicity. And I also want that game to stay 2D. Don't jump to 3D models. Looking back at some of the gameplay footage, looking at this dude's YouTube channel called The Nostalgic Gamer, who's done like documentary videos on each of the Darkstalkers characters.
Right.
You look at that game, and it's inspiration by like Western cartoons. It has to stay 2D. It has to have the guys behind Skullgirls to work on a modern version. It has.
Yeah.
I mean, you have like fucking Lord Raptor has his special move is that he turns you into a basketball and fucking dunks on your ass. And don't get me started on Dimitri's Midnight Bliss attack. How are you gonna do that properly in 3D?
Yeah, that's the thing about Darkstalkers. It's very animated.
Yeah, it's very cartoonish despite having a very dark and grimy story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a weird mishmash of tones that I kind of really enjoy from that franchise. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to revive it, do it right. And Capcom, they have a pretty solid redemption arc so far, but they still haven't made a home run with a fighting game just yet.
I think they will, though.
They might. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, let me just talk about the first major problem with gaming, and it's been happening all year. And I hear about this story like at least once a month from a podcast I listen to. The Epic Game Store exclusivity bullshit.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
For those who are mostly console gamers who don't know, Epic Games started their own launcher platform as a counteract to Steam. And it was supposed to be developer friendly, and I think it kind of is, but I heard it's pretty damn anti-consumer in the way it's set up. But what they keep doing is that they keep finding IPs and making them timed exclusives or just plain old exclusives. They just like throw huge sacks of money on game developers' nuts and have them just have their shit exclusive on a launcher that nobody wants to fucking install on their computer because they don't want to sell their information to the Chinese or something like that. And They have done this with some pretty solid games. Untitled Goose Game being one of them. Shakedown Hawaii, which is what I have on the Switch, being another. Let's see. The Outer Worlds. They got the Outer Worlds. Let's see. And I just heard the damn store doesn't work all that well. Still doesn't, even though Epic has the money to throw around. They don't have the money to fix their own damn launcher, despite saying that it would. Borderlands 3, obviously. But who cares? Who cares about Borderlands anymore?
Yeah.
That's such a dullard game. I couldn't get into a franchise.
You know what, too, though? You know what? It tried to do what Diablo and those did. It just sucked at it.
Yeah. But this leads to my sub point, and it leads to a next transition of something I want to talk about, and that is Shenmue 3. They got Shenmue 3, and people were fucking upset because they were promised a Steam release, and they had to refund those people, which to me is a bittersweet scenario. It's not the worst case scenario, but it's not the best one either. The best one being make it available all across the board, especially on PC. But Shenmue got hit with the Epic exclusivity, and yeah, people that was the tipping point.
Oh, I gotta say one thing. Speaking of gaming blunders, to me, Shenmue 3 all around.
That was what I was going to lead into. I did not play the game. I have seen some trailers, and I have seen a Let's Play of it. And I got it. And you know what? There's a way to sum this up perfectly. And I believe it was summed up by Rocco from Mega 64. It is a game that looked like it was made in 1999, but they didn't release it till 20 years later. And that is not a compliment.
No.
It doesn't. No. It lacks a lot of quality of life features that could have improved that game. It really did. And the voice acting is bad. Despite having talented voice actors, they made it purposely bad because now it's, God forbid we take our. Could you imagine if the Resident Evil remake still had the shitty voice acting from the PS1 game? That's what it feels like.
You know what my whole thing is? Shenmue is so overrated. And I don't understand the fascination over those games. And I know some people are going to... some people like to argue with me, Darkscream, with Shenmue?
Go ahead. What is it?
It hasn't aged well. I didn't like it. And you know what I counter? I didn't like it in 2000. I bought it the day it fucking came out. And I didn't like it. And I always tell people this, dude. I only played Shenmue so I could play fucking Space Harrier.
And apparently, during a certain time in the game, you have to go home and can't play Space Harrier no more.
Yup, and I hated that. And and I tell people this, you know what? The Shenmue Formula 1, people who are like, it's so original. No, look at fucking River City Ransom in those games.
Yeah,
they're based on...
Yeah, River City Ransom had those similar ideas. But here's the thing. Shenmue did try to make it a little more realistic and a little more revolutionary. But again, it's been 20 goddamn years. There have been other game developers that took that formula and improved upon it. Like Yakuza, for example. Or you know what? I played an indie game this year called The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa, which kind of plays like Shenmue and River City Ransom. And that did a better job at it than frickin' Shenmue.
That's the thing. We don't need Shenmue. I get people want the story or whatever to finish, but...
Oh, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I'm spoiling the ending.
I don't care. Go ahead.
It doesn't end. Another fucking cliffhanger.
Let's wait another 15 years.
Exactly.
Whereas as what for Yakuza games? Oh, we get Judgment.
And then I'm not against the idea of Shenmue coming back, but I want Shenmue to come back, look at these other games that did the thing, and see if they could either capitalize on it or do it better. But it looked like Yu Suzuki fucking went into a fucking ice chamber for 20 years, didn't stare at a single screen, and thought it was okay to make a game like this now. minus the Sega license, so you can't even play Space Harrier or collect little figurines of Sonic the Hedgehog anymore. Now you collect your figurines of forklifts. How exciting! Fuck.
I don't understand. I still don't get the cult following for this game. I just don't get it.
I don't either. I mean, we have a viewer that listens to us, D-Bot, but he actually enjoys it. Ironically, and I'm like, well, that's you. I'm glad you can find some enjoyment out of this, but don't expect Shenmue 4 to even happen at this point. But oh dear Lord.
Oh, I want to mention a blunder.
How much money?
Oh, go ahead.
How much money did it get crowdfunded? $7 million?
Yep. And they came out with that. Stiff-ass animations.
Stiff-ass voice acting. Rio responded to everything by going, I see.
He did that in the first game, and people praise. I don't. And you know what? I know I pissed off some people once by saying, you know what? The voice acting of those games is the same quality that Sega used in their fucking arcade games.
Oh, yeah. House of the Dead 2.
Yeah, and I always make the joke, yeah, Shenmue is a longer version of their shitty voice acting from... All their arcade games had shit voice acting, dude.
But they were hilarious and tongue-in-cheek, and it didn't matter because they weren't story-heavy in the first place. I mean,
they're arcade games.
Nobody plays House of the Dead 2 for its plot. They play it just to shoot zombies on screen.
And it's hilarious. The voice acting's hilarious. But Shenmue was meant to tell a story, but yet you use the same fucking voice acting.
It took itself way too damn seriously. And if you want to... Yu Suzuki takes the game seriously, but the fans don't, even though they should. And they should just have higher standards. Again, Virgin Shenmue, Chad Yakuza. Just try out Yakuza 0, guys, if you haven't. You will thank me afterwards. I gifted my friend that game last year on Steam. He loved it, and I gifted him Yakuza Kiwami this month, and I know he's going to enjoy that game a little bit. And if you don't like that, okay, if you're an anime fan, if you love Fist of the North Star, play Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise. Same gameplay.
You can play Space Harrier in all those games.
You can play Space Harrier in Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise.
Yup.
Crazy. I know. I Fist of the North Star, it's not a perfect game, but I still enjoy it.
You know what? I know that game got shitted on, but man, I fucking loved that game. I had a blast playing that game.
Yeah, I still need to continue. The part where you have to, get to Joggy, there's way too many run to this point trigger cutscenes, so that's what snagged me. But I want to get back into it because, and I'm not even a big Fist of the North Star fan. I'm not.
And I am, you know that.
But I do enjoy what I've been playing so far. I really like to see more anime games get this treatment.
And there's a certain person that I know.
I know.
Yeah, well, hold on, I gotta say this. Says the game was shit, but he can go to hell because he sucks with his podcast of life. Fuck him. Anyway, the end.
All right.
We're done with that.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is that Google Stadia being a thing. Dude, they advertised this hard at the Game Awards. Okay, remember a couple episodes back?
Hold on. Why can't we just say the Game Awards is a blunder every year too? Except for the announcements.
Well, mostly. Well...
Come on, Death Stranding nominated for Game of the Year? A game where you walk?
Okay, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to have to eventually try the game myself at the time. And look,
go ahead.
I might actually enjoy it, even if it is a game where you walk from point A to point B. Here's the thing. I'm not against the idea of you making weird, mundane tasks into video games. My friend, in return, gifted me Stardew Valley on Steam, which is a fucking farming simulator. And
I love it.
Exactly. But, I don't want to go farm in real life. So I'm not against doing that. In fact, back to Fist of the North Star. There's a mini game where you play as a bartender.
And I like that mini game.
That shit was fun to play because it's just a couple button mashings and you see Kenshiro over the top serve the drink and he has these fantastic names for his drinks. 100 Proof Rush. You are already drunk. So I'm not against that. And I guess being a delivery man in that game is probably enjoyable for what it is. So I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. Okay. Now, I don't think Death Stranding's Game of the Year material for me. We've already covered that. And apparently it didn't even win the Game of the Year awards. It was Sekiro, which I was kind of relieved because I think people told me Jeff Keighley was actually in that fucking game.
What?
Yeah, nepotism to the extreme. And
well, he's a big old Kojima dick sucker anyway.
Yeah.
Remember when Kojima fucking had this falling out, and like for 2 years in a row, Keighley made these fucking impassioned speeches about him and all this?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah, look them up. They're pretty sappy as fuck.
But I want to go back to Google Stadia, and I want to go back to a couple episodes ago when Retro Bro and I discussed the idea of ownership on digital copies of games.
Okay.
I like to think that you still have some form of ownership if it's installed to your hard drive.
You do have, yeah.
Yeah. That being said, the idea of streaming, and I know Reggie said it will be viable a decade from now. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I think our infrastructure is going to get worse in the coming years. Right. But that's another thing. But when you stream a game, it just doesn't feel like you own it. It just feels like a glorified Netflix thing. And of course, I heard the thing doesn't work properly and it's breaking people's Chromecasts. You know,
let me say something real quick about streaming. I feel like I stream comic books, right?
Oh.
And I stream movies and music. I feel like I can own those. But a video game, I agree. And thinking back, remember when I first played Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2?
Yeah.
How was I playing those?
You were playing it through the PlayStation. Yeah, PS Now.
I didn't feel pushed enough to play those games through PlayStation Now. But guess what, Darkscream?
Now that you got them on PS4 and you physically own a couple copies, you want to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And I have a feeling that same level of because I feel that way when it comes to watching TV shows on any streaming service. Like, okay, there's all these shows that are available right there. I just don't feel compelled to just go up and play it, even though it's more convenient. I might rather just pull up my DVD of the next Gundam show and watch that. It's just a weird feeling, and I'm just not in favor of it. I'm call it old fashioned all you want, but I'll happily just stick to the consoles. And by consoles, I mean I'll stick to my damn Switch. I like the idea of consoles. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The idea of streaming games is just, and nobody's gonna have a good enough infrastructure for it. At least in this country. In fact, I have a friend who I want to say he's got a ground fiber optic cable network in his house. He's been bragging about and wants me to come over and check it out. And I'm like, okay, dude, he's a guy who you can actually market the Stadia to, because he's single, so he doesn't have to share his network with anyone else. He's got a nice house, he's got a nice internet, and I want to see, and he's got all the fancy high tech shit because he's a technophile.
Right.
I'm just curious to see how the Stadia will work under his roof. And if it's still shit, then they lost everything. It's probably going to continue to be on news and shitstorms in the coming years. So, all right. The other thing I want to talk about, you're probably not going to like what I'm going to talk about.
Why? Well, go ahead, just say it.
Let me just ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your honest opinion on Pokemon Sword and Shield?
I like it.
All right, you like it, but is there criticisms for it?
Not so much.
Really?
I've enjoyed it, yeah. Well, I haven't played a whole lot of it.
Oh, well. I actually had some friends who played Sword and Shield.
Mm-hmm.
They were underwhelmed by it.
Okay.
And the news of the game before release was just not looking so. I was actually thinking about picking this game up, and I didn't even care about the national decks at first. But when I looked at the game, when I looked at the lazy animations, when I looked at how Digimon Cyber Sleuth, a game that was made for the fucking Vita originally, still looks a lot better than this one, I just couldn't have my heart to fork over $60 for this game when maybe it's a better investment to just find me a copy of Sun and Moon and reboot my 3DS.
But let me argue something. Sun and Moon, which I do enjoy, right?
Right?
Has the same amount of animations. I mean, the only
That's
thing that it's got.
and,
Hold on. The only thing that it's got going for it over Sword and Shield, I think, in a way, is the National Pokédex.
and that's the thing. The excuses Game Freak tried to make about the lack of national decks, a lot of people counter argued like you future-proof those character models. Those are recycled character models from Sun and Moon. They could have easily put them in the game.
I'm not in disagreement with that, but I do think it's a better game.
I also heard that there's hardly any post-game content.
There never really was. Even in X and Y and Sun and Moon, there really wasn't.
I don't know. My buddy Windsor said there was, but
there was some, but it wasn't like. I'll give you an example. In Pokemon X and Y, there was some like little side quest you could do, and that was about it. And you could just keep going on and capturing and building up your Pokemon for really online battles. That's really what the end game was. Same with Sun and Moon.
Let's see. I just want to check something because my friend told me this. Okay. Okay, this is from 2017. Yeah. Okay. So the reason why this game has been underwhelming to most Pokemon fans, even though it still sold a shitload of money, was because my friend told me that they didn't try because Pokemon's CEO thought the Switch was going to be a failure, and apparently there's news of it from 2 years ago. So that's probably why they half-assed this game. Still, like I said, I wanted to get back into Pokemon, but after hearing this from the diehards, I was like, I decided just to stay away and go back to Digimon.
Hold on. Yeah, but how many times have we criticized diehards of other games? How many times have we? Because sometimes they're oversensitive little bitches. And I'm not. Hold on. I'm not saying they're wrong about Sword. I will get back to you on that in like a week. Okay, hold on. But I'm saying, how many times have you and I went after diehards of other franchises?
Plenty of times, but some of those diehards are my friends, and I trust them more than I trust random diehards.
Okay, I get that, and sometimes I have friends that are diehards too, but sometimes you got to look at it that they may have the same over impassioned look that some of the randoms have. And I'm not saying your friends are wrong. I don't really know your friends. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from personal experience, I have learned this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Anything else? Any other blunders you want to talk about?
Ooh, yeah, I was gonna mention Death Stranding as a blunder. Let's see
What?
what else do. Yeah, dude, I played it. It's boring.
Oh,
I did play it. I played it, and it's boring. And here's the problem with it: it's not fun. And like you said, I'd rather play. I'm more interested in getting AI to Somnus files than that game. If I want some surreal Japanese shit.
yeah. Get that shit when you can.
Yeah, I will. But that's my whole point. That's my whole point on that front. And also, I want to also mention another blunder. We have to talk about Anthem for one reason.
That was on my list.
Okay. BioWare is dead.
Yep.
It's a fact. I hate to say it, but the company that once made Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 and Neverwinter Nights and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and the Mass Effect games are gone.
Yeah.
They're
dead. They've migrated to other worlds. Or should I say Outer Worlds? Not funny. I knew I knew this game was going to be a blunder when they tried to do the whole games as a live service, let's be like Destiny kind of crap. Because they think about the long run, but they never think about getting people hooked in the short run of things. And I've seen the gameplay, and the jetpack flying looks pretty fun, but the actual combat looks like a fucking mess. I see nothing but like explosions and electrical shit flying all over the place. And there's not a whole lot of content to hold people up. And I even heard that they out Fallout 76 themselves at one point by banning a Twitch streamer's account for some dumb shit. I forgot what the details were. It happened this year, but holy crap! It even surpassed Fallout 76 in terms of stupidity.
And BioWare is not known for games as a service. Okay, let me.
No, they're story heavy games, man.
Yeah. Like, okay, let me say something real quick, and I'm gonna go ahead, and my kid likes Fortnite. I can't stand Fortnite.
Me neither.
But to be fair, Epic is better at that type of game. Okay, let's be honest, they're better at that type of game. They never really had, unless maybe you like Gears of War, but they never really did story based games. They've always done arena style stuff. Okay. BioWare is story based stuff. They even did a Sonic RPG that had a story to it, but they do Anthem, and Anthem has really no story, and that's what you expect when you get a BioWare game. You expect story.
And I think the news about that game just died down. And I went to a damn retailer. They're already selling the game at $20.
Fuck that game.
Yeah, $20 fucking already. That is fucking sad. And you know what? It is a little bit tragic, but I'm okay with BioWare dying.
Yeah, we have CD Projekt Red.
We have CD Projekt Red. We have Larian Studios. We have Obsidian Entertainment. Okay, those guys are good. Those guys are worthy successors to the throne. I'll go back and play some of their older games. I think Neverwinter Nights just got released on the Switch.
I would play that on PC.
I'm gonna try it on the Switch.
Oh, I only argue because Neverwinter Nights, I think they cut out some of the key features that really made that game for me off the Switch.
I heard they actually added some other content in its place, though.
Yeah, but you know what really made that game was the DM client that you could do, the Dungeon Master client, and the ton of community modules. And some of them were better than the official content that was released.
All right.
So.
I still might try if it goes on sale on the Switch. Same with Baldur's Gate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I can't personally.
All right. Next thing is Fallout 76 continues to suck, parentheses, and it's still a thing.
What?
Yeah, so, after all the shit that happened last year, the game being a fucking bugged up mess, the fucking the fucking bonus content being either in shoddy condition or just not showing up at people's houses, all that. After all that, Bethesda still fucking had the cojones to come out and say, hey, we're gonna release an annual $100 season pass for everybody with this much content available for it.
What?
Yeah. And here's the kicker. Most of those things, such as private servers, they don't work. They still work. Oh, it gets better. Apparently, you can tell the difference between a person who paid for that shit and someone who hasn't. And now Bethesda just started an unintentional class war amongst the Fallout 76 community.
A class war? What?
If I was a sociology expert, I would just get an account for that game just to get on that shit and study it to its core. Because that is, wow.
Okay, explain to me this class war.
The people who didn't pay for it thought that was an anti-consumer thing to do. So what they would do is attack and harass the guys who paid money for this shit, the $100 pass.
The peasants against the
exactly. Nobles against commoners, man. We're seeing some early Erebonian shit right here.
Oh fuck.
Oh man, the Chancellor. Okay. Yeah, but what really pisses me off is that there were people. The thing that really makes me raise an eyebrow is, wait, you guys are still playing this, and you're still giving them more money. So I'm just as mad as the players than I am at Bethesda at this point. Because yeah, if it were me with that game, I would side with the commoners because you're being part of the problem. No one should fork over $100 a year for shit like this.
Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't. You shouldn't fork $60 for this crap.
Yeah, you shouldn't even fork $60 for the base game itself the way they released it. Fuck them.
Look. If you're gonna do games like a service, it should be free, and then have skins and like again. I'm not a fan of Fortnite, but making cosmetics the cost of it is fine by me.
Or here's the opposite thing I recommend.
Okay.
Games as a service, um, pay for the full price game, but then additional content, with the exception of cosmetics maybe, comes out free, which is what Monster Hunter World did.
Or
With the exception,
Overwatch.
yeah, well, yeah, Overwatch, but fuck that game. And fuck its loot box system. Hate it. At least Monster Hunter World, I know what monsters to hunt to get the fucking parts and have my chances there. That's why it's easier to get some of that exclusive gear.
Right.
Whereas if I want a fucking Halloween skin of Mercy, I have to wait during the Halloween season, win some matches, and hope to God I get. Yeah, I'd rather just pay money directly just to get that fucking skin instead of just play a fucking game of chance.
Right.
It's like that. It's so dumb. Hate it. And that's why I can't get into Overwatch anymore. The rewards isn't. It's not that rewarding. No matter how well I play in that game. Like that, or at least set up like a challenge system. Like, hey, do this many heals with Mercy this many times, and then here's your reward or something like that. But
Or you know what sucks about Overwatch too?
what?
When you're playing with someone who sucks at that game and they tell you how to play.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm not into Overwatch much these days.
Yeah, I occasionally go back to Monster Hunter World. That being said, the Master Rank is a bitch, man. I'm getting hit once and 2/3 of my health are already gone. So I have to find some way to play more defensively. And I am fighting against big, fast monsters. And
Damn.
yeah, and I'm a glaive user who's all about controlling the air and just slicing midair and fighting with a staff.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you enjoy Monster Hunter.
I do.
It's not my cup of tea. I can't really get into it.
Man, it might be. We just have to find the right weapon for you. That might be it.
I don't think it's for me, man. It's kind of like how you feel about Street Fighter Five. There's something
I
that
thought
gets
Monster Hunter wasn't for me either. And then I tried the beta for Monster Hunter World and found my key weapon, which was the glaive, and decided to stick with it.
I tried World at a friend's house for a good few hours, and I just can't do it. It's just not me. And that's fine.
All right. Okay. Now I don't think we can cover every blunder that's come out this year. So I do have one last thing, and
What's
it's
that?
even though I haven't played this genre since 7 years ago, actually. But it still breaks my heart that this is how these games are being released. Now, I'm not a big sports games player, but when I was a kid, I was. I used to play the shit out of stuff like NBA Jam, NFL Street, even some of the early traditional games like ESPN NFL 2K whatever that came out on PlayStation 2 for $20.
Right.
Yeah, I love those games. I also loved wrestling games. I used to buy them annually from SmackDown Here Comes the Pain to SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, and I would occasionally rent those games. And the last game I bought from that WWE library was 2K13 because that was the one with the Attitude Era in it. But I heard WWE, and I've even seen WWE 2K20, and it's getting that Fallout 76 publicity shit show. It's bad.
Well, I guess if it's any compensation from what I read, they're going to have a new developer on that series next year.
Maybe. But I don't know. It's hard for me to get into those games nowadays because of the whole annual release thing. Out of all the genres that could work as a games as a service thing, you would think the sports one would be the one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just pay for the base game and then $20 a year. Here's an expansion pack that updates the roster, but you can still keep some of the old content or something like that. Kind of like what most fighting games do nowadays. That would work so well, but and you're recycling assets anyways. It might be a bit of a time saver in your end, but no, they need to get as much money as possible. And oh man, the glitches are so fucking awful. And I heard WWE 2K20's Twitter or Instagram got fucking hacked. And I heard some of the DLC bonuses didn't come in. I think Bray the Fiend Wyatt was actually one of them, which I thought was kind of insulting.
Because he's such a major face. Why
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like when
I don't mean face in terms of wrestling terms.
No. Like he's a major player in that's like making a wrestling game out of the Attitude Era and making Stone Cold exclusive. No, it makes more sense for Mike Tyson to be exclusive.
Yeah, the Fiend is pretty much the breakout character of this year for WWE.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, and he's a cool character, but don't make him DLC.
Yeah, and of course it's such a bugged up mess, and it was so bugged up that I've been listening to the 83 Weeks podcast, and Conrad Thompson was shilling for that game. That was the only shill that they had that I fucking just went, ugh. And these are people shilling out products for Viagra and fucking ball hair trimmers, dude. I shit you not.
Yeah, I know.
Out of all the things that made me go, Jesus Christ, really, you're gonna shell out this shit? It was the goddamn video game, because they may not be gamers, but I am, and I follow this thing like a hawk. And holy shit, it is crashing and burning.
But I'll say this: 83 Weeks is still a good podcast.
It is. I still listen to it.
Yeah. Oh, but on the horizon, like I told you a few weeks ago, we still getting Retromania.
Yeah, I actually finally saw some gameplay footage of it. Looks very Super NES-ish.
And it looks fun.
Yeah.
It looks like a great game to have on the Switch.
It does. Man. I still want to hunt me down a copy of WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain.
You should. It's probably cheap.
I have to go to another city to find it.
Oh.
Yeah.
eBay it.
Maybe. I just want to make sure it's in good condition, because I did find some old wrestling games way back when, but they were all the CDs were scratched up.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe near the end of this year I'll find something.
Well, I think we covered a lot. There is one more blunder of this year for me, real quick. Florence still exists, but what can you do?
It still exists.
That next year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florence still exists.
But all of that crap aside, I still think 2019 was a fantastic year.
Oh, we had a blast this year, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anthem sucked, but hey, there's a game where you play as a goose and then you grab a rake and you throw it in a lake. Yeah. That's one of the mission objectives in that game, rake in a lake. It's and that's to me that's very creative, very inventive. We're next year is going to be looking great too. I mean, we're getting Rune Factory 4 on the Switch. We're getting Doom Eternal, Cyberpunk,
Final Fantasy 7 remake for me.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 remake.
God damn it, Darkscream.
I didn't mean to say it sarcastically, but I'm still cautious about the game's.
I'm sure we'll talk about it come March.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want it to be a blunder, but I just need to know what their fucking map is in the future. Like, when are how many episodes and just when are they coming out?
I think that's a fair assessment. I just want to play it because
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 was just shiznits.
Yeah. So. But I got nothing else to say, homie.
Yeah, me neither. And it's a solid hour. We're actually on time. You can find Magus's channel on youtube.com/MagusX1 where he does rants and other things, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing a rant.
As for me, I do streams and an occasional anime talk, which is what my channel was built up on. I'm probably going to do more content in regards to that. And, I'm on the fence on whether or not I should stream my game of the year this evening.
I think you should. I
Yeah.
won't be able to watch it because
Yeah, I know. It's spoiler. It's going to be spoilerific for those who are interested in the franchise, but I do want to gush more about this game.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
might.
say do it.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna see if I can get a co-host who's familiar with the franchise to tag along on this.
Ooh, I know who you're talking about too.
It's one of the two, or both.
Who
So
is it, Nightman or?
Nightman or BioPhoenix.
Oh yeah, both of them are good choices.
Yeah, we actually had a private discussion talking about the ending, and yeah, we had a really good talk. All right. I'll also post links to Twitter and our Discord so you guys can join in and converse about other things. And with that, this is Darkscream signing out.
And with that, guys, Magus out.
Take care, everybody.